Pacepa's a fascinating man. Pacepa was the #2 guy under Ceausescu in Romania. He was the head of, it was called the DIE, the DIE. I mean, I feel like it's a get smarts thing sometimes, but it was the equivalent of the CIA, more or less, foreign intelligence in Romania during communist times under Ceausescu. He had been a bright young man, bright boy, did well in school, got drafted into this area. His father had always talked about America. He'd always wanted to come to America, but that dream, you know, of becoming American never happened. Pacepa decided to, he became head, and he realized that he was pretty good at what he was doing. And he really realized how good he was one day at the White House. I mean, he lived a life of luxury, by the way. I mean, he hung out with Khrushchev and Castro and Carter and world leaders. Really, he was one of the privileged few in one of these communist societies. Pacepa hears Jimmy Carter say, this new man, this Ceausescu, this new communist, this new man from Romania, this great leader, a guy we can do business with, a new opening between our nations. Pacepa hears this, and Pacepa knows Ceausescu's a butcher, committing genocide against his people. He says, I can't believe we fooled the leader of the United States this badly. Pacepa had made his mind up that if the time ever came where he was asked to be involved in an assassination, he would defect. And that happened about 3 months after the incident in the Rose Garden. Pacepa was asked to kill somebody. He went back to his home, went to the American embassy, and got flown to Washington. When he came to Washington, by the way, Jimmy Carter didn't believe him. Jimmy Carter wanted to send him back to Romania, which would have been a death sentence. Absolutely. So, fortunately, the CIA, the folks who were involved in the debriefing process, did believe him. Talked Jimmy Carter out of sending him back. But he was being debriefed for 3 years. And during these 3 years, you know, he told all kinds of stuff that eventually became the book Red Horizons. During this time, when Pacepa left, Ceausescu, first of all, is outraged. He puts first a $1 million bounty on Pacepa's head, then adds a second $1 million bounty. He dispatches Carlos the Jackal, an assassin, to go after Pacepa. Pacepa becomes aware of this. So today he lives under an assumed name, a new name, which I don't know. I don't know where he lives or what name he lives under. Pacepa eventually wrote this book, which President Reagan called his Bible for dealing with dictators. If you know Pacepa, you will hear about disinformation. Pacepa says disinformation is you want something that comes from a trusted source, which has a nugget of truth, and cannot be disproven, so you have no original documents about it. If you think about during the war, during Vietnam, for instance, if something came out of the Kremlin about how American soldiers were behaving, you would dismiss it. If it came from Washington or a national American newspaper or an American soldier who had been deceived, I'm not saying John Kerry was part of intentionally spreading disinformation. But Pacepa said, when he heard what John Kerry said, he said, my God, he's repeating our disinformation. By the way, what we talk about in the book, the same people, the same methods that were used to attack Pope Pius XII, the Soviets also used to point fingers in other directions after the Kennedy assassination. The same people in the United States that were saying Pius XII is a bad guy were saying it was the CIA who killed John F. Kennedy, not the communists. Ramparts magazine, same authors, everything. Pope John Paul II, early in his papacy, I mean, this is a guy who was very important in bringing down communism around the world, but early in his papacy, there was a plot to destroy him. They wrote a false history, much like the deputy. They wrote a false history, which was a diary of a woman who would have known him when he was a bishop in Poland. And the diary was about their affair. And they were going to plant this in an apartment and let Polish police find it. It was disinformation at its purest. The thing today, one of the things today that's most scary is in Russia today. When Pacepa watched what happened with the collapse of the Soviet Union, he said they had a plan in place in Romania that said, if communism ever falls, what we're going to do is get some young leader, stick him up in a little city. When things calm down, bring him back, let him be the leader, and put other strong communists, intelligence types around him. And if you look at what happened in Russia, that's precisely what is happening. Pacepa says, I don't know if Russia had that plan, but they're following to the T what we would have done. Pacepa risked everything to come to the United States. He had a life of privilege. He could have stayed in Romania, hung out with world leaders, had millions of dollars. And he's actually got a court verdict where he's got millions of dollars in art that he could go collect if he knew how to kind of come out of hiding and be able to do that. I mean, he was a wealthy guy, living a life of privilege, risked it all, left family and friends and everything to come to the United States. And now he's here and he's looking at what's happening in the United States. And he sees us giving great praise to the current leader, songs and schools and stuff named after him, blaming all failures on the previous leader. We see great concern over things like Benghazi. I guess the new report came out yesterday. I have not had a chance to read it. That may be better. But you see religion under assault. It's not a coincidence that everywhere communism goes, religion is attacked. Atheism is inherent to communism. It's not a coincidence. It can't thrive where there are Judeo-Christian values. At some level, if communism is going to thrive, I have to convince you that it's okay to kill him to take his property. He's got to share, and if he won't share, you have to know it's okay to kill him. And if we have Judeo-Christian values, you're never going to agree to that. So we have to cut down those values. Religion is under attack in the United States today. We see the legislative process being avoided. We see government spying on its citizens in a way that hasn't happened before. And not everything is just from the current administration here. I'm not just blasting the current administration. A lot of these things have been building for many years, even prior to the current administration. But these are signs of trouble. I think the book, Disinformation, and I've called it both a love letter and a warning to America. I mean, Pacepa really loves America. He's a true blue American guy. When you talk to him, he gets misty about things and values. He's a wonderful man. He's funny, but he's worried where the country's going. And this book was about that. It's saying, hey, I love you. We can get back on track, but you got to recognize that there's some serious problems going on, and we need to correct those things. He's an old man, and he wants to try to set things right before he passes away. It's been my privilege to work with him. It's been my privilege to talk to you tonight, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
You are being lied to. Learn why and how in Disinformation, the blockbuster new book written by the highest-ranking Soviet bloc intelligence official ever to defect to America, and the full-length companion movie inspired by his newest revelations.